All right, welcome everyone. I hope you had a really nice lunch here. Our next talker is going to be Alan Runyan, and he's going to talk about "I Wish You Were Fun." Can we have applause for Alan?
Good luck. This is the microphone. Hello, hello. All right. Yeah. It's been a long time since I've been to any of the conferences, so it's great seeing everyone, long lost friends. We've been working on a little project, and I wanted to share it with everyone. And, really looking for feedback from the participants because we kind of are in a little bit of a bubble, heads down doing work, and would be eager to hear what other people's experiences are. So just a heads up, do not try to install any of this software. If you're thinking about it on the network, it will be awful. All right, yeah, so our application, the reason why we wrote this application was we have to run it in all these really weird configurations on various networks, integrated with different systems. We have kind of weird security requirements, and one of the things that when we were looking at other frameworks and other applications, they are kind of massive. A lot of them are kind of doing everything, and we had a very short period of time to actually sort of produce a working system. We ended up. Oh, am I too loud? Okay. All right. So we ended up having to all the things that we were looking at were just entirely too big and complicated for us to use. And we actually had a little bit of a head start on one of the key parts of AI systems that you would see, which is RAG, which is a type of search, semantic search. And we really kind of needed to show something within weeks. And so we started building this system that eventually became what we're calling Soloplex. And as we were developing it, we were sort of incrementally learning about AI as we go. And then we got to the point where we factored out the framework from the customer's implementation. And this is the commit that actually did that. And then the project actually came into being. So our configurations are really strange. Most of them are offline or intermittently online. This is not really, it's just too custom. Most systems just don't do this. Either you're online or you're being hosted by OpenAI or Anthropic or Bedrock. All our stuff is pretty much offline, unfortunately. And then also we have just a lot of integrations that we wanted to be very, very close to the metal with. And so actually one of the reason why we ended up coming up with the name was me asking Gemini while I was waiting for my family to go somewhere. And it popped up this name. It was pretty fun. So what is this? It's a fairly generic out-of-the-box application. It has a concept of rooms. Rooms contain sort of a configuration and YAML that have the prompts and the LLM configuration and tooling. It kind of represents a business process. That's kind of how we think about it, or maybe a set of knowledge. Users navigate to them and they perform work. For instance, you could have a room that serves some sort of knowledge set. Different other examples, chatting with knowledge bots, or provide training using quizzes that are automatically generated from documentation. Another example is these rooms could be sort of business units that you can go and ask questions or give feedback to the people who are inside the unit themselves. Find out the location of it, the directions, etc. So just a quick walkthrough of what it would look like. The different configurations is it either supports no auth mode, OIDC, which is pretty much a standard now for interconnect for authentication, and very near future is TLS client certs. So what does a room listing look like? Each room has its kind of its own configuration. It's just a YAML file. It's pretty basic. Again, we were sort of building this system as we're showing it to the customer. We're learning how AI is working and kind of winging this as we build it. An interesting part of this is that the rooms themselves can actually turn into MCP servers, so that the tooling and configuration you have can be shared with other systems. So we do have systems that are calling back into us to use some of the tooling that we have, not just us calling into them. Just an example, so whenever you open up a room, you have an introductory sort of message and then some suggested queries. Right now they're static, and then just a chat box. There's nothing really to it. Asking a question, you get a response, and this is where things start kind of going off the rails a little bit, where we end up having all of our conversations sort of wedged into the message payload, as you can see. So for instance, if you're familiar with most other chat systems, you would see like the citations being a separate out of the box and maybe like a separate thing. So some of the things that we do in ours that you may not have seen in other chatbots is if we show an image or a markdown image or render it, you can click on it to get a bigger version of it. We have GIS coordinates that can be displaying on maps. You can click on the map and it expands. And so we do have custom widgets. But one of the questions is, how are we going to represent sort of having information or artifacts that are separate from the actual chat message history for the bot? This is sort of a little bit more complicated than we would anticipate. I think the normal way of doing this would be you one-off it for everything. So you'd create a server representation, probably in JSON. You would push it down. You would have a widget on your client that would know how that. Then we have keeping things in sync. That really sucks, right? So that's sort of one of the places we are with this. Is it is working. You can see it. It's a very basic front end because we're still trying to figure out how the interactions are going to work. These interactions are a little bit tricky to do, and so how you go about writing something that's going to be supportable across many different installations with different people, and even an offline mode, and people are going to have different versions of things. It's just a kind of a tough problem to be figured out. An example, this is on my mobile phone. There's a room that basically has a very small prompt that says, hey, just return JSON, a random JSON string that's of this sort of GIS payload. What's kind of weird is when you talk to it, you can just say random places in the world and it just gives you the map. It's like, that's really weird. And you can tell it, hey, I want a bunch of different plots all over the place. I want 10 of them that are going across, and it plots them all out. So again, one of the things that we're going to be doing with this is going to be probably quite related to maps and drawing things on maps, possibly even interactively. Again, this is going back to how are we going to have these interactions for streaming from the server into the clients. And this is like a really difficult problem. I don't know if anyone's really solving this. There's some things that I'll reference, but that's kind of where we are. We have sort of the plumbing. We do a few things, but we really are kind of beating our heads around the interactions. Another example of something that we do is like a unique interaction, again, is a quiz. So now we see that we can have, the system can have a question, and we can show multiple choice. That's a different kind of widget, interaction widget. This is pretty interesting because we have fill in the blanks or open-ended questions, and people can answer them, and the LLM can score whether or not it's actually accurate. And so, for instance, if the answer is blue, you can prompt the LLM to say, take synonyms for answers if you'd like. And so someone can answer instead of blue, azure, and it would score the answer correct. So just a quick, before we go further, how we got here. We didn't really want to build something, but we really couldn't find anything. It seems to be fairly new. Lots of things are very big or trying to consume everything, consume the whole sort of your whole stack. And we really wanted something fairly small. And we're kind of solving these customers' problems at the same time. So we couldn't really absorb something really big and build out something for our customer. And then the bits that we factored out are actually in the open source project. And then I just did a quick explanation of the application. The main thing that we're focused on is the user interactions, which are sort of the problem that we're trying to solve right now. So from the technology point of view, what are we talking about? So we have FastAPI. Our LLM library is something called Pydantic AI. It's a little bit newer on the scene. Most people probably have been looking at something called LangChain, or maybe Llama Index, or there's a few other ones. Pydantic AI actually is pretty decent. I don't have a great smell for libraries, other than some of them were really, really, really big. And some of the code I was looking at, some of them wasn't terribly fantastic, but the Pydantic AI stuff is pretty good. And from a client side, it's pretty Pythonic, if you will. The search engine that we have, which you can use for any of your projects, please do, is called haiku.rag. It comes from a Plone ex-Plonista named Jurgis Guzandinos, who worked with Geir Beckhout for a long time. And he is one of the people on the team. And then for inference, you can use a hosted inference engine like OpenAI, or what we're using is Ollama and VLLM. And then any SSO, OIDC, specific OS. Now, the front end side is probably a little bit, has anyone heard of Flutter? Hands up. Has anyone actually built anything with Dart? Okay. So that's a shame, y'all. So I think that Dart's really, really cool. And I would say that it's the closest thing I've seen to being what I felt Python was about 20 years ago, especially with some of the latest changes that they've done with the Dart runtime. They basically have a pretty good glue story where you can write in Dart and FFI and have these wrapping Dart libraries into Java, Objective-C, Swift, C++, C, and Rust. And they're pretty good. I mean, people are building production systems with it. Google's been using it in production for a while. It's quite nice. I would think that I could go out on a limb and say that they're probably the most pushing AI as far as a language is concerned. They have first-class integrations with Their tooling, their tool chain, and their dev tools all support MCP servers. They're exposed as MCP, so the analyzer, the compiler, the linters, formatters, all those things are exposed through MCP, through tooling. So since people don't know, let me step back. Dart it really actually is quite great. I would suggest if our project is probably not the best project to see it for first. It's a little bit big and we're kind of in a rush when we're building it. But Dart is a typed sort of C# like language that is compiled to binary. It has it originally was interpreted, but it compiles down to, I think, ARM, x86, and RISC, and supports a JIT and has AOT. So also compiles to JavaScript and now also compiles to WASM. And so, and these aren't like compiling to JavaScript or WASM prototypes. I mean, these are things that are running like Google AdWords, right? These are like production worthy compiler backends. So Flutter is written by Google, based on Dart, and it allows us to generate a web front end and a mobile front end and a desktop as well. The Canonical is investing quite a bit into Flutter. I think if you use Ubuntu, you've probably seen Flutter already. I think it's maybe the startup system, the bootstrapping install. They also added multi-monitor support and multiple windows. So it's, as far as I know, like, you know, pretty amazing sort of language that supports cross-platform Windows and actually works. I don't know many other systems that do that. It is not good for building websites at all. It's null safe, silent safe, type flow safe, or the flow analysis is safe. It's pretty good. Just some endorsements real quick. Python, really good. Pydantic AI is pretty much the foundation of what we're doing. There's an observability system called Logfire that you can use out of the box with it. Please, and star their repository and Urgis's. Haiku.rag is a RAG system where you can use it both as a library or as an application. Just pip install Haiku.rag. And out of the box, you can just point it to a directory and it'll just index a directory or index PDFs. It takes a while. That is just kind of the nature of the beast. We'll probably make it a little bit faster and more flexible. For the document ingestion pipeline, doesn't really have a separate one yet, but we will probably end up having to add that. What is interesting about Haiku.rag, which I have not seen on other RAG open source projects, is that Urgis, as he's an academic, is always measuring the results. So he uses an evaluations framework that Pydantic has and runs evaluations with different data sets. The most popular one that's recent is the Wix data set. How this works is that you have multiple agents. You have an agent that is given a question and a data set, and the LLM with the prompt and the question, and the data set tries to determine what the answer is. And then the question response is fed to a judge. The judge knows the answer and determines whether or not the answer is correct. haiku.rag gets pretty spectacular results, better than GPT-4, which isn't I think was that last year. So for open source and free, it's offline. It's pretty good. So there's measurable results. You can go and look on haiku.rag and actually see the recall and precision for 2 different data sets. I can't remember what the other one's called. And obviously, because it's storing data, we have a persistent system called LanceDB, which is very novel. It's a serverless database that stores embeddings. You can use it as an embedded one, something like SQLite. If everyone's heard of SQLite, it's pretty much the exact same thing. But it has this neat trick up its sleeve where it can mount an S3 bucket and consume records, read and write records off of S3 directly, which is pretty neat. And it scales incredibly well. So there's some sort of funky magic in there. One of the things about evaluations is, and I think that this is probably the most honest warning sign or call out, is this on the Pydantic AI side, which is, unlike unit tests, evals are an emerging art and science. Anyone who claims to know exactly how your evals should be defined can safely be ignored. And this is by people who are been doing this for a while, and this is how you are evaluating whether or not your the quality of your system is working. And this is, they have the framework, but the fact is that it's a magical kind of like art, not really totally scientific yet. It's getting better. So the current status of the project is it's missing an awful lot. We don't have containers, what we call organizations, to hold rooms. We don't have authorization yet. We would expect that to limit what room a person can see and what tools that person can use. Our documentation doesn't really exist. We don't have bulk indexing, blah, 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 blah. Lots of stuff we don't have. But I think it's still pretty useful. It works. It's a really good way, I think, to introduce yourself to an AI project. It's open source. As far as I understand, it's probably the only open source project that has mobile and web and desktop out of the box. If there is one, that please let us know. And it should be pretty easy to hack on. The code is quite clean from the Python side. We have 99.9% test coverage, and the code base is pretty small. I think it's like 2,000 lines of code or something like that. And then also it's, from a Dart point of view, you can go and hack on Dart. So the parts that are, since we were talking about user interaction, one of the things I do want to bring to everyone's attention is sort of the state of the art when it comes to user interaction is this really cool JavaScript library called Copilot Kit. That team with a few other AI libraries came up with this standard called AGUI, which is Agentic UI. It's pretty neat. You can go and download I think they call it AGUI Dojo. There's some scripts. You can run it. You can run a Pydantic server. You can have it up and running in like 5 minutes. It's pretty easy. And you can kind of see what it is. And you have what essentially is the LLM is out actually controlling the web browser, changing the DOM and things like that. The most ambitious thing that I've seen, which we argue about internally, is what Google's doing with the GenUI. This is a pretty crazy experience. If you go to fluttergenui.web.app, what you're seeing actually is a LLM driving the entire interaction. The client is painting the widgets, but who is putting the widgets there and who is repainting them after you provide input, that's all through the LLM. There's no sort of programming language. There's no one who's scripting the experience. There's no scripting there. It's really the LLM that's actually driving you to the destination. The other parts are this A to A protocol, which really wouldn't really help us with user interaction, other than the fact that if you have done a chat interface, you know that typically it's request and response. And the A to A protocol gives us a mechanism to do like tokens and having async long-running jobs. All right. So just a reminder that hey, doing open source really is really hard, y'all. So be kind to everyone in open source land and be constructive. So how much time do we have left? I don't even have a time.
We have 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay. So then let's see if we can get this thing to work. So this is our system. We'll ask a new conversation. See our back end whittling away. Let me show you. Wait, what is going on? There we go. I just want to show you guys I think it's this. So this comes out of the box. You just have a token, and this is really kind of pretty much. I don't think you can actually build this software without this tooling, because everything is asynchronous and everything is sort of calling each other, and there's it's very hard to kind of reason about what these things are doing. Okay, let's try this again. Here we go. So we can see that that it's calling into the agent with the model it is. You can see the details about what the prompt is, the user's prompt, the fact that it's calling a tool. It runs the tool called get current date time, responds back, and then gives us this sort of answer. Let's see if we can get the Plone thing to work here. 1 second. Let's see here. Is this right? All right, here we go. So normally you would not do anything like this. You would have it would be configured a little bit differently. Does anyone have any questions while I'm typing this, or want to see anything? I could be going demo.plone.org, which is the same username and password. All right, and then so we can say create a document with the title. You can see the token count, both the input and output tokens. Well, come on. All right, so I was being a little bit ambitious. 1 second. Let's try that one more time. All right. Hey, there we go. We can say, all right, so I think I said last time, add a introduction block with 20 lorem ipsum words. Let's do that first. And so there's, we can show a quick example of what the file system looks like. So this is for the Plone side. It's the, you can say that you have the name, the description, your suggestions, where you could just click it and automatically happen. Here's the Plone using the MCP client tool set. All right, let's see if this worked. No. It worked on demo.plone.org. But I was.
There's no introduction block on your instance because it doesn't have the auto add-ons that you need for that block.
Okay.
Just add a text block instead.
Text block.
Yeah.
All right. Let's try that again. So. There we go. So add a text block with 40 lorem ipsum words.
That's a problem. It's called state block.
It may figure it out.
Yeah.
So a trick I learned, which is I would see you're just like build these prompts that were like crazy. I was like, holy God, man, like you're writing this stuff out. These are like magic. And he's like, hell no, I don't write this stuff, man. So I get Claude to make it for me. So one of the things that I highly suggest is getting the LLMs to build out your own prompts. Give them the sort of approximation of it, what you want. Let them generate the prompt for you. And I mean, this takes, quite a bit of time versus just having something very quick. Does not have some.
Editing open, I guess.
That's right. That's right. All right. Let's try this again. Add a slate block. 60 lorem. So the one of the things that we do provide that's useful, I think, from a framework point of view, is we provide. Wait, am I in the right place? Yeah. We provide sort of the mechanism to marshal YAML configuration back into your tools. And so you could we can write add-ons that, you can configure, you can configure your own tool sets with your own parameters. And it's all sort of a cohesive inside the configuration framework. This is an example of it where we have a tool for search documents, and then we're passing in configuration into it. So you kind of have to have that if you're going to be building something like this. Let's see if this answered. The slate block was successfully added to the document. Okay. Hey, there we go. All right. And then lastly, let's and then lastly, we can delete. Yeah, so I think that I guess we can stop sort of right here. I do want to. There you go. No longer exists. Ta-da. All right. Let's see here. Did the presentation go away? I lost my presentation, y'all. All right. Well, yeah, that went away. Well, so that was, I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in my Google Drive at this point. But yeah, so we'll stop right here and ask questions, please.
Thank you, Alan. Do you have questions for us?
How do you prevent you're not self-coming such a big monster as everybody else that consumes everything?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
The other things that you tried and evaluated, they were big monster that consumes everything. How you're not preventing your self-coming of those? You tried a few frameworks that you research other than your own.
Right. Okay. Sorry. I'm having a hard. I've been up for many hours, and I
understand.
The accent.
But how do you prevent that you're not?
And the mic also is not working, I think.
It's for the it's only for the recording.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you prevent that you're not coming at those type of monsters either?
So that's a good question. So how do we prevent ourselves from becoming a monster? Yeah. So I don't really know. I mean, I think that there's a few things that are probably a little bit different for us in the sense that we actually have a project to deliver. So we really don't and we don't really need to make money off this in the sense of like, if you look at, we're sort of just wanting to sort of write something and kind of show it to other people. If people want to use it, that's great. If 10 other people use it, that's 10 other people that are sort of using it and hopefully ironing out bugs with us, right? We don't have tons of time to sort of help people, but when you look at those other projects, there's only other community people. The authors aren't helping anyone. And also, I would say that, I don't think we're going to, we do so little right now, right? That I think that we'll be very sparing in kind of what we do tackle. That's going to be at least at the framework side. And so again, we kind of I miss this idea that we kind of have this way of iterating where we kind of do work in haiku.rag. We sort of prototype how that works. Well, the customer gives us requirements and we do it in haiku.rag, and then we put it inside Solaplex or inside the customer's project and then back into Solaplex to kind of sort of see how all this stuff is going to work out together. So, I mean, I don't have a good sense of how it's going to play out, but we'll see. And if I'm here next year and we've made a monster. Anyone else?
Sorry, we're running,
All done?
We're running out of time,
Sure.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Alan, for
Thank
the
you, guys.
interesting, amazing presentation.